Hello everyone and welcome back to JavaScript lessons on Codecademy. So last time we looked at how for loops actually work. Today we're going to be using them in something that you might see in an actual program. So, or at least I hope so. So let's see. So we're going to be learning about arrays. Variables can store numbers or strings, but so far we've only been able to store only one number or one thing or one string or one character. But arrays allow us to store a list of data, can store different data types at the same time, and are ordered so the position of each piece of data is fixed. So for an example, you have variable names equals square bracket, and you have a pair of square brackets, and inside you have elements. So each element is separated from the other using a comma. And in our first case, we have a list of purely of strings, and we know that they're strings because of the quotation marks. In the second case, we have a list or array called sizes, and it's all purely made of integers. In our third list, we have or array, sorry, I'm used to saying list because of Python. In our third array, called mixed, we have both strings, so for example candy and blue, as well as integers 34 and 11. You can also add their characters and double or decimal point numbers. So how you do this, how you create an array, is by saying var, the name of the array that you want, equals square brackets and a semicolon at the end, and inside the square brackets you have whatever data you want. So in our first example, let's take that, you have three data things, all of which are strings. So you have Mayo, or however that is pronounced, sorry, Gandhi and Mandela. So let's see what we need to do. Make your own array called junk. That sounds like an interesting array. Okay. Put square brackets around your data, yep. Separate each bit of data with a comma, yep. End it with a semicolon. Okay, it doesn't tell us what we need to do. Oh, put 4 bits of data in it. First 2 strings, then 2 numbers. So, I don't know, that number and that number. And my first thing is going to be, I don't know, a broken laptop. And our second string, because it's junk, it can be, I don't know, scrap metal, because I don't even know right now. And then we can use console.log to print it out. Oops, that's not how you spell junk. That's how you spell junk. There we go. So when we print it out, everything gets printed out, including the square brackets, and you also have the exclamation points. So let's move on. It's nice that we can put a list of data into an array, but now we need to learn how to gain access of the data that's inside of these arrays separately. So you probably won't need all of these 4 things at the same time. You might just want to get peanuts, for example. So the position of things in arrays is fixed. So we just need to know the array name, here it is junk data, and the position of the data we want, and we're done. Small complication though. The position or index of each bit of data is counted starting from 0, not 1. This can sometimes prove confusing, but it can also prove useful, which I will tell you how once we start using the for loop with an array. So first element in the array is junk data 0. So if you console.log junk data 0, you would get Eddie Murphy. So let's actually do that just to show. If we do that, save and submit, as we can see, Eddie Murphy gets printed to the console, because that's the first 0 is the first position, and the first thing in the list is Eddie Murphy. Third element in the array, in this case peanuts, is junk data square brackets 2. Save and submit. you get peanuts printed onto the console. So arrays have zero-based indexing, so we can start counting the positions from 0. If you go out of range, meaning you do something like that, it's going to give you a syntax error. Or I guess it's going to give you undefined. That's weird. Maybe it's just because it's in a browser-based environment. I'm not sure what would actually happen in a normal compiler environment, but we don't have to worry about that for now. So what we need to do is print out the 4th element of the array. Okay, start with figuring out how to express what the 4th element in the array is, then use console.log to print things out. So we already have the code, pretty much. I just changed the 4 to a 3. This is because if you start counting at 0, Eddie Murphy is 0, 49 is 1, Peanuts is 2, and 31, which is the 4th element, but has a position of 3, is the last element, or however you want to call it. So you have junk data, 3 should print out the 4th and last element of the list. As we can see, that's exactly what happens. So let's move on. Loops and arrays. So you've now learned about arrays and how to access one element of the array. But what if there were 100 elements in the array? You wouldn't really want to do console.log for all 100 elements. So for arrays, a useful way to systematically access every element in the array is to use a for loop. Now this is where loops prove to be very useful. Line 3 declares the array. It has 4 elements. So this is line 3. So it has the elements Melbourne, Amman, sorry if I'm pronouncing anything wrong, Helsinki, and NYC, New York City. City, I don't even know. It doesn't matter. We start the for loop on the line 5. So this is where we started. We see I starts off at value 0. The for loop runs until I is less than 4, because the length of cities is 4. Although it has the last element is at position 3, the length of it is 4 because there are 4 elements. Now this is why it's useful when you have 0 as being the first index, because if you do less than that, and if it starts at 1, then the last element couldn't be accessed easily, so you would have to do less than or equal to. But I think that's a bit too complicated to explain for now, so just ignore what I said if you don't understand it. So the for loop runs until I is less than 4, because cities.length equals 4. The array cities has 4 elements in it. See the hint for more. I guess I'll do that after we finish the task. We'll increment I by 1 each time we loop over. So I++ means exactly that. We print out cities 0, which accesses the first element, which is Melbourne. We then start the loop again, except now I equals 1, because we've increased it by 1. It will print out cities 1, which is Amman. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong again. This continues until I is no longer less than cities.length. So while I is not less than 4 in this case. So if it becomes 4, it's just going to exit the for loop. So what we need to do is change the elements in the cities array. You can put in as many elements as you like. Okay, I'm gonna do some Macedonian cities because that's where I am originally from, and there we go. I don't know what else I can add. London, just for the heck of it. And currently we have 7 elements in this list, but all of them are still going to be printed out because we have that instead of an actual number for this statement. So we need to run the for loop and see them all printed out. As we can see, all of them are printed out as I would like to visit whatever the name of the city is. So let's move on. Loops and arrays 2. It's time for you to write your own array and loop over the array. So we need to remember to put commas between each element in the array, put semicolons between each bit of the for loop. They suggest that we use I as the iterator, you would normally see I, N, or J or K actually as well used. So I, N, J, and K I think are most commonly used as iterators. I don't know why, it's just how it is apparently. So yeah. So beware of infinite loops. Hopefully we don't run into that problem, or my browser is going to crash and that's going to be bad. Enjoy yourself while smashing through this coding. Woo! Okay, let's actually get started. Create an array called names filled with 5 names. Oops, that's how you create an array, is it? Semicolon, and here we go. 3 simplest names that come into my head straight away because of my YouTube channel and stuff. Those actually 4, and also I'll use that name as well because I can and I just feel like it. It's an easy name. Then we need to write a for loop that prints I know someone called followed by names I. Make sure there's a space between called and the name. So let's start off like I would normally start off a for loop and then say I equals 0 semicolon, and then we want it to be until the less of the length of the list. So I less than names, I believe that's the syntax. There we go. And then we want to increment I by 1 each time. And now we need to actually print that, so we need to do console.log, and there should be a semicolon apparently there because that's what it's saying. For all the lines in the for loop there should be a semicolon, and we need to literally just print I know someone called. Ooh, why did I put that there? That's confusing me. What did I do? There we go. I don't really know what I did. Followed by names I. Ooh, is there something between those two that I need? I have a feeling I do. I didn't pay much attention to the last code. So we need to run the code. Oops, we've done something wrong. I know someone called Mihe, but didn't make sure to type I know someone called. Have I just done that wrong? Let me copy and paste it. There we go. Oh. Do I need to remove that? No. Do I just need to add it? There we go. I mean, it's not adding, but that's a different topic. So, what we're doing here is, at first we're creating a list called names, which contains 5 names, and then we're looping through the whole of the list, taking each name each time by doing this and using the number each time, and then just printing out I know someone called whatever the name is at that time. Again, we can extend the list. For example, if we do, I don't know, Bob there, all of those would also be printed out. So along with these you would also have I know someone called Bob, although you haven't changed any number in here. So actually, let's see what happens if I reload the page and do that code. Submit. As you can see, it prints the old code as well as a new line. So let's move on. Conclusion. You've done an awesome job. Loops are always a little tricky when you first meet them, but they're worth learning because they're really useful. It reduces redundancy a lot. What now? You have so many useful tricks up your sleeve. If else statements, functions, for loops, booleans, arrays, variables, etc. So the best way to get better at programming is to use what you have learned to build something. Click Save and Submit code to finish. So if you guys feel like being creative, I don't know, try it out here. And if you guys maybe even submit some code to me, I will show it off in the next video if you really want me to. So until the next time, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.